Could the meaning of life be as simple as planting fruit trees everywhere? Maybe it could. There's there's levels of it, but if you eat a bunch of fruit, you have the seed and you chuck it. In a way, you're kind of spreading fruit trees even just from that. So I'll definitely recommend don't chuck your seeds in the bin. If you get seeds, just chuck them in the garden at least. That's the first small step. But it can definitely go a lot further than that, So I'll definitely say if you are seeking, purpose and meaning and something deeper than, just, the regular stuff, I would say it's an interesting one to look into, planting fruit trees, not only for yourself, but for the next generation. Some fruit trees take many, many, many years to start growing, but they can outlive you, So I would say, especially if you're looking to have an impact on the next generation, planting as many fruit trees as possibly is a good way to do that, Yeah, I would say doing it in accessible locations, even better, So, if you're putting it on an isolated farm somewhere, that's purely just trying to make money from it, then potentially, anyway, all your work may not reach the greater population, because if it's all about money and they can't make money from transporting it all the way to where it needs to be and whatnot, the fruit can just sit there and rot in the middle of the country, in the middle of nowhere. But I would say, if you are interested in planting trees, then a lot of trees grow from cuttings, such as mulberries right behind me here. Got a mulberry tree, bunch of fruit on it. But and fig trees, another one. I'd say those two really good. Other ones that grow, really well that don't die is lemon trees, but I think you need to grow them from seed. There's a bunch of others. My favorite one is Muntingia calabura, the Panama berry. It just grows like a weed, gives you fruit every day. But there's definitely a lot of other ways you can plant seeds. Hell, you could buy the trees if you wanted, plant them in the best spots. But it's definitely something a lot of people overlook, and they don't understand that, imagine if there was fruit trees absolutely everywhere, and every day you just picked fruit off the tree and ate it, it'd be a different place. I find it really strange how councils all over the world ban fruit trees being planted in public, and I find it highly suspicious activities, banning planting fruit trees and other edible plants. Makes you wonder if they're in cahoots with the supermarket chains. But really, are we not meant to, whether we're eating the fruit, swallowing the seeds and then shitting it out on the ground, and potentially sprouting up plants, or breaking off some branches and then sticking them in the ground? It's just not a little thing, is it? When you really think about it. And I don't think enough people are talking about it, and but it's definitely a big part of what I think on a regular basis, wanting to plant fruit trees in places and having a lot of accessible fruit. Another one that grows good, grows wild, it's a bit problematic because of the thorns, but blackberries are quite nice. Once a year they'll sprout up, but they're very invasive in regards to very spiky and taking over, but they'll definitely go everywhere. So once a year blackberries are pretty good, but yeah. So if you've got, you know, anything that, you know, I've probably missed out a lot here. This really big topic, I just thought I'd try and bang out a video on it, because, you know, it means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to other people as well. You know, so don't be afraid of, you know, buying that fruit tree that you wanted. You know, giving gardening, right? It's definitely a learning curve, learning gardening and keeping your plants alive to begin with. They're definitely, when they're younger, they're more difficult to keep alive. Once plants get to a certain size, they survive a lot better. So it's a bit of an art, you know, looking after baby fruit trees and whatnot. So yeah, so, you know, don't be afraid to give it a go. And if you got any cool locations that you think, you know, could do with a fruit tree, try and make it look official. Just wear a fluoro vest and do it late at night. But yeah, you know, I don't know what else to say. It's I'm sure this video will go somewhere, and I'll make a more in-depth video on it again. Yeah, it's just, you know, if you really are, you know, seeking meaning, and you know, if you really look at, you know, humans and the earth and what our job on this planet might be, it's a very big possibility that we may be, you know, designed to spread fruit trees, you know, fruit seeds all over the planet, everywhere we can, you know. So yeah, if you're interested in rare fruit and random fruit like that as well, if you're interested, you know, because when you're growing fruit trees, you can also grow your own rare fruit. So that's also a bonus, because you can't buy it at the supermarket. Can't buy, you know, Relinia at the supermarket. Can't buy, you know, high quality jackfruit, at least in Australia. So if you're interested in rare fruit, definitely giving it a go, growing your own. You know, it can be an expensive habit if you aren't very good at keeping them alive. So I'd say start cheap, you know, build your skills up. Yeah, like I'll do another video one day on all my gardening tips. I got pretty in-depth knowledge when it comes to gardening, and you know, the optimal, you know, stuff for a lot of stuff. You know, there's basics: don't overwater, don't underwater. You know, you can't screw, you know, if you screw them up, you're fucked. And they're very important, but there's other stuff, you know, that pretty critical stuff as well that can really benefit the, you know, yeah, all the things from like rock dust minerals to, you know, beneficial fungi and bacteria to, you know, just good aeration and, you know, a whole bunch of things. But yeah, don't let that stop you, you know. I'd say definitely good beginner plants, mulberries and fig trees. If, you know, look on Facebook Marketplace, you might be able to pick up some cheap, really cheap, some small ones, you know. And the thing with plants, it's an investment, so it grows very slowly. So you need to start early, you know. With plants, you know, especially fruit trees, you need to start early. Like, if you want a massive food forest and you know, a fruit forest or whatever, you need to start now, because, you know, especially with some of them, like, well, this tree is very young and it's got heaps of fruit on it already. This tree is less than a year old. But actually, wait, maybe this tree is 2 years now. Wow, 2 years. But with a lot of other fruit trees, it might be 5 years till they start fruiting. But, you know, so it may take a long time to fruit, but once it does start fruiting, you know, it fruits for the rest of your life, every year pretty much. So definitely worth it. But you definitely, you know, some trees might take 20 years, you know, if you want a durian tree or something like that. So, you know, you have to act now if you want that sort of stuff. Yeah. Alrighty, I'll leave it at that, you know. I'll give you a challenge. Plant one fruit tree this week. you know, somewhere in public, and yeah, go from there. All right, peace. Get out there.
Why were you dehydrated? Why are you dehydrated? Why are you dehydrated? Because not sir. I'll tell you why! Because you got 50 goddamn water!